This is the ultimate camera test of Nothing Phone 2A versus Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro. The battle of the best all-around mid-range phones. Let the battle begin. Today's a really good mid-range fight between Nothing Phone 2A and Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro. This is the battle between OnePlus and Xiaomi. If you guys don't know, Nothing company is owned by OnePlus. Today is a really good day for comparison. Outdoors, we have a combination of sky and clouds and random colorful things. We also have indoors where you can see a little bit of portrait shots, people, and colorful flowers. We're also utilizing all sensors of the rear cameras and the selfie, the dual rear cameras on Nothing Phone 2A, and triple camera setup on Redmi Note 13 Pro. Let's start with color profile and saturation, and I feel like generally it's a win for Nothing Phone 2A. It always creates brighter and well-balanced photos. The dynamic range on this phone are really good. You can see that the scenes are well-balanced and popping out. The shadows are always exposed, sometimes too much, but everything is clear and spot on. Most of the time, it has a warmer white balance than Redmi Note 13 Pro. Sometimes Redmi will throw a warmer photos, but I think it's because of the AI. But Nothing Phone manages the highlights better. You would see this on the strong light source of the arcades and the windows. You would see more information on Nothing Phone 2A compared to the Redmi phone. Also, looking at all sensors from the ultra wide and telephoto, Nothing Phone 2A has stronger autofocus than Note 13 Pro. I probably spot 5 to 6 images out of 50 that Redmi misfires on the autofocus, especially with the 4x digital crop. Nothing Phone is also more detailed and sharper than Redmi Note 13 Pro. I noticed that there's a faster shutter speed than the competition. You would always see motion blur or even blurry photos on Xiaomi, while it's always sharp on Nothing Phone 2A. While Redmi Note 13 Pro is a bargain phone for what it offers, I feel like even though there's a lot of pluses on the Nothing Phone, you cannot beat the value of the Redmi mid-range. It has a cooler white balance than the competition that you might like, and like other phones from iPhones and Pixels, you would see that Redmi also crushes the shadows, giving it the more natural looking and somewhat 2024 flagship look. One of the downside of this phone is it has a slower shutter speed. You will notice it's on the moving object, sometimes it's blurry, or you would see that it's lagging behind a little bit with Nothing Phone 2A. But if you look on the background, you would notice it's a little bit creamier than Nothing Phone 2A, and also the bokeh balls are stronger than the competition. Looking quickly on the specification, Xiaomi Redmi has triple camera setup with main sensor 4 times as big as Nothing Phone 2A with 200 megapixel with an extra macro sensors of 2 megapixel, while you have a more versatile 50 megapixel on both the ultra wide and main sensor on Nothing Phone 2A, and the selfie is twice the resolution of Xiaomi with 32 megapixel. Going back to this comparison test, I think with both phones being a sub $300 phone and Redmi even less than $300, you will be happy with the quality of these two phones. And looking at all sensors from the ultra wide and digital crop, colors are consistent. Again, the autofocus of Nothing Phone 2A is stronger than the competition. Nothing Phone 2A is a really good mid-range phone. It gives you everything from the glyphs or the lights and the big battery life. The camera app feature is minimal on this phone, like the iPhone and Pixels. The best thing about this phone is it can shoot 4K video recording versus the 1080p of Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro. Let's talk about portrait mode, and both phones are good. I've seen better on some of the more popular devices like iPhone, Pixels, and Samsung, but these two phones provide really good portrait mode, a more beautified look. The new Nothing Phone 2 is a warmer skin tone. You would see this on my face and arms. The skin is also smoother by default. You will see less pores on my face and a little bit beautified. If you look on the background, it has gradual blur, not as blurry as Note 13 Pro. It also has better contrast. The colors are deeper and shadows are more defined. While the new Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro obviously wins on the cutout, it has better subject separation. You would see this on the hair and the cap. And on the busy background, the cutout on Redmi Note 13 Pro is so much better than Nothing Phone 2A. Like any other Xiaomi phones, they have obsession over white hair complexion, and you would see that there's a neutral and whiter skin tone than Nothing Phone. The face has more details on it, and you would see a little bit of imperfection and freckles. The biggest takeaway on the camera features on portrait mode is you have two focal lengths on Nothing Phone 2A, which is 24mm and 50mm shot. Going for the selfie shots, this is the best selfie you would see on a mid-range phone, especially Nothing Phone 2A. Redmi Note 13 Pro has a wider field of view and also has better contrast than the competition. While looking on the night shots, I would say these two phones are priced just right on the mid-range bracket. Again, not like the Pixel or Samsung of the Androids, but I would say they can still compete with those phones, especially Nothing Phone 2A. It has a warmer white balance than the competition, and overall, it has better exposure than Redmi Note 13 Pro, especially on pitch black condition. It also cleans up the noise better, so obviously either you go with a noisier and darker image or a more flattering one. While Xiaomi Redmi has a cooler white balance, it also crushes the blacks and the shadows, more like an iPhone kind of look. It is more saturated than the competition, although cooler, and you would notice less flaring on this phone, and the image are noisier, but you would see more details, especially on the 2x digital crop. This is Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro in Full HD at 30 FPS. Sadly, can only shoot 1080p both front and back. This phone also has 4G and 5G, and it is less expensive than the competition. It also has the Pro Plus version, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro Plus, which we will test later. The camera app on this phone has more features than Nothing Phone 2a. It has long exposure, 200 megapixel document, and the short video, which is good for uploads in Facebook or Shorts. Checking who manages the flaring better, both phones are doing really good. I just like the sun rays on Nothing Phone 2a, it's visible, but there's also a strong pinkish flare on it as well on the main sensor. Talking about highlights, if we zoom in on this image, you will see that there's still more information on a strong light source on Nothing Phone 2a. One of the biggest additions on the triple camera setup of Redmi Note 13 Pro is the additional of 2 megapixel macro sensor. It's not a whole lot of information, but you still have this just in case you need it. Checking the sharpness on the ultra-wide lens, it's almost the same for both phones, but if you look on the main sensor, you will notice that Nothing Phone 2a is a little bit sharper than Redmi Note 13 Pro, and even on the 10x digital crop. And lastly, details, 50 megapixel of Nothing Phone 2a versus 200 megapixel of Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro. And if you zoom into this image, there's more information on Redmi Note 13 Pro. You can also crop this really tight on this phone. So I think that's it for the image test. I think Nothing Phone 2 is a little bit better than Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro in portrait, night shot, and colors. Now let's do the video test. Starting with the stabilization test on minimal movement walking, this is the ultra-wide lens, and you would see more details on Nothing Phone 2a because it's 4K, while only Full HD on Note 13 Pro. Now this is the main sensor, again, same resolution, 4K 30 FPS on Nothing Phone 2a and Full HD on Redmi Note 13 Pro. Sadly, Xiaomi can only shoot 1080p on videos. And lastly, this is digital crop, and both of them can shoot 2x, and you have plenty of information and details on Nothing Phone 2a. Next is video zoom test, and this is the 7x on Redmi Note 13 Pro, but Nothing Phone 2a can go as far as 10x. Now going for a more active movement, this is running using the ultra-wide lens, and both of them has the same stabilization, just better resolution and saturation on Nothing Phone 2a. And almost the same feel on the main sensor, the level of jerkiness, but again, Nothing Phone 2a will beat Redmi Note 13 Pro in resolution. This is the selfie video recording, and in this mode, both of them have same Full HD resolution because Nothing Phone 2a can only shoot 1080p, and both phones is good in stabilization. Redmi Note 13 Pro was just clipping the highlights a little bit and a little bit overexposed. And lastly, low light video. If you're looking at this video on a bigger screen, I think you would like the contrast of Redmi Note 13 Pro, but again, the deal breaker here is the resolution. It looks soft with that Full HD footage. I think for anyone who will purchase or using the Redmi Note 13 Pro, there's plenty of things to be happy about on the camera performance. For the price tag that we paid for this phone, it gives you a really good portrait shot, a decent night shot, and good colors. Sadly, you can only shoot 1080p video, but if you have a few dollars to spare, you should go with Nothing Phone 2a, better autofocus, night shot, and 4K video.